Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 1 of my Blender tutorial. This is going to be a multi-part tutorial in which I'm going to cover the 3D design software known as Blender, which is used to make games, 3D prints, movies, graphic design, product design, pretty much anything you want to be 3D. And in this first part of the tutorial, I want to cover all of the basics so that you will be very comfortable to experiment with Blender. And everything that I do here is going to be available in a text document that is in the description that is 100% free. You don't have to give me your email or anything. Just download it or go look at it or whatever. And I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so to get Blender, all you need to do is go to blender.org and download it. It is very easy to install. It looks and works exactly the same on every single OS, and I can trust that you will be able to download it and install it with no problem. And I'm going to cover all the basics like I said, but I'm also going to teach you how to use a Bezier tool and a little tool called Spin to create this 3D object right here and numerous other objects like it. So that's what we will cover by the end of the tutorial. And whenever you start up Blender, you can see I'm using the most recent version, Blender 2.79, but if you have 2.8 or something like that, chances are it's exactly the same or very, very similar anyway. And this is what it looks like. And if you can't see it, view it full screen. I'm going to try to zoom in on everything that I talk about though. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up N here, and I am going to come over here on the right side of the screen, and I'm going to turn on my Screencast Keys. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to see what I do over here. So whenever I go and click on A, for example, to deselect, you're going to see over here some information on what I'm going to do or what I am doing. And I went and enlarged that a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so first thing I want to cover are some preferences that you may or may not decide to use. Now, I am using a 3-button mouse. You don't need a 3-button mouse, but it is very useful. If you want to use a 2-button mouse, probably what you're going to want to do is go to File, User Preferences, and then Input, and then click on Emulate a 3-button mouse. That will allow you to do pretty much everything you can do with a 3-button mouse on a 2-button mouse. Another thing you might want to do is, in Blender by default, you select everything with your right mouse key. A lot of people don't like that. They like to use the left, so you could switch that also. And that's basically the main things that you might want to change. I am going to use the default system though, where I'm going to select with the right key, just so you know. And like I said, I'm using a 3-button mouse. I'll put a link to the mouse I'm using, but any 3-button mouse will work. Okay, so here we are inside of Blender. I'm going to teach you the just basic stuff. So if you would want to, say, zoom in or out, what you're going to do is you're going to hold down on Control, and everything's the same on Windows and Mac, and then you're just going to move your mouse forward as you're pressing your middle mouse button. And that is going to allow you to zoom in and out. Once again, Control and middle mouse wheel. You can also hold down Shift, and that is going to allow you to scroll up or down and move your basic plane of your 3D geometry here on your screen. Your mouse wheel is also going to allow you to zoom in and out just by rolling it like that. And also you're going to be able to go and select with your middle mouse button and pan around your 3D objects inside of the screen just by holding down the middle mouse button. I am currently in object mode, and you can see what mode you're in right here. See, it says object mode. And inside of object mode, that's where you're going to move objects around. Now, if you would ever want to change to work with your vertices, the vertices are the points. I'm going to switch into edit mode. How you do that is by going into tab. Okay, I just clicked on the tab key. Now I'm in edit mode. Now, if you want to deselect everything, you click on A. Now, if I would want to come in here and I would want to select my vertices, how I would do that, and I'm going to go here and pan this down. This is a vertice, and you select everything with your right mouse button. See, that's a vertice. This right here is an edge, and the interior of this is known as a face. Now you're going to be able to move these different things around. I'm going to switch back into object mode. Once again, I'm going to hit the tab key. See tab right there. Now I want to select everything here. I'm going to select it with the right mouse button, and I can zoom out here a little bit. Now you're going to be able to do a couple different things. You're going to be able to scale one of your, or move one of your objects on the X, Y, or Z plane. And this right here, this red guy right here, is going to represent the x-axis, and the green is going to represent the y-axis, and this is the z. Now, if I would want to move my cube right here on the x-axis, once again, that is going to be your red. You're going to select that with your left mouse button, and you can see this line pops out here, and that is going to allow you to move it only on the x-axis. If we go and once again with the left mouse button, go and select the green arrow, it's only going to move on the Y. And if we go and select once again with the left mouse button on the blue arrow, that's going to move it on the Z axis or Z plane, however you want to refer to it. You're also going to be able to move objects by pressing shortcut keys, and the move key is going to be G. So if I have this selected, and you can see there's a line around the cube that tells you that it's selected. If I want to move it, I can just press on G, and then it'll just be tied or stuck to my mouse pointer. And then if I want to set it, I just press the left mouse button and it stops. So once again, I go and I can select that item, it's highlighted, press G, and it moves. And another thing that's kind of useful to be able to do is I could also select this guy and press G and then hit on plus and 5. And that's going to move it 5 Blender units. You're going to be able to define how you move different items later on. I'll cover that in a later tutorial. And you could also press G and -5 and move it back again. So just different things you can do with all of these different shortcut keys. You're also going to have numerous different views and ways to look at your objects. If you want to switch to your front view, you're going to press on 1, and that is your front view. You're also going to get a right view with a 3, and you're going to get a top view with the number 7. Oh, another thing that you might want to do is I do not have a number pad on my keyboard. So I'm going to go into user preferences, and I do indeed have emulate number pad selected right there. So if you have that selected, you don't need to have a keyboard with a number pad. All right, so I want to cover that also. You're also going to be able to switch to the back view with Control 1, the left view with Control 3, and the bottom view with Control 7. And these things, you don't have to memorize all of them. Just over time, you're going to pick them up. There's also possible to get a camera view by pressing 0, and that is what your camera is going to be recording or what it's going to be seeing. And you're going to be able to use your right mouse button on the edge to move the camera. So you can see right there how I'm able to move the camera and put it exactly where I want it to go. Now you're going to have a perspective view, and let's switch out of this. Let's go back, and I'm going to press the O key here to get rid of our camera view. And what I want to do now is I want to talk about perspective view versus orthographic view. Now perspective view is basically just going to show everything, or this is actually orthographic view. Perspective view is going to show everything in perspective. So the farther away an object is, the smaller it's going to be, or the closer, the larger it's going to be. Orthographic view is going to represent objects as the same size independent of the distance from your camera. And we'll get more into that as the tutorial continues. If you would like to split your screen and show multiple different things on the screen at the same time, you're going to be able to do that. With your left mouse button, just come up here. You can see these little lines up here. You're going to select them and then drag over. And that is going to allow you to display multiple different views of your screen all at the same time. And if you want to get rid of them, you're going to put your mouse button over that again, and you're going to see that little arrow popped up there. Boink, and now you're back to just one view. There's also a shortcut to show multiple different views. It is called the quad view. And to show it, you're going to go Control, Alt, and Q for quad. And there you can see right there, it gets kind of busy with the shortcuts there. But you're going to see that it is going to show you both the top view and top perspective, and then down here, the front and the right of the object. Since it's a cube, it looks kind of boring, but what have you. You're also going to be able to get rid of that by going Control, Alt, and Q and switch back to just one view, which is a little bit easier to deal with here. You're also going to be able to pan your view by going Shift and F, and then you're just moving the mouse key around if you want to do that. And you can shut that off by just clicking with your left mouse button, and that deactivates that. I'm going to come in here and just grab it with the center mouse button and put it back into perspective mode so I can see it a little bit easier. You're going to be able to both show and hide your properties. This is the properties panel right here by pressing N. So there, that's on and that's off. This is the tool menu. You'll be able to turn that on and off by just pressing the T key. Down here you will see some different operations that you're going to be able to pull off, and we're going to be able to move with this arrow here. You're going to go and rotate an object with this one and scale with that one. So move is what we've been using all along, and let's go and do a rotate. So we're going to be able to select this, and then we'll be able to click and drag with I'm using my left mouse button to rotate this item around. And you can see we're going to be able to use the X and Y planes just like we did previously. Likewise, I'm going to go now and scale this. I clicked on the scale tool, and I'm going to be able to click on this with the left mouse button and scale either on the X, Y, or Z plane, just like I talked about previously. So very, very useful stuff. Also, you're going to be able to go and make a lot of those changes over here with the transform tool. So location, rotation, scale, all of that stuff. And as you get more precise, you're going to be using this stuff a lot more than you're going to be using the regular mouse movements. Another thing it's good to know is your left mouse button, if you click, and once again, we're in object mode. That's very important to understand. If you go and you click anywhere in your perspective area, that is going to create the 3D cursor. Now this is going to define a lot of different things, but one thing it's going to define is where a new object is going to appear on our screen. And to make a new object appear on the screen, you're going to go Shift and A, and this is going to show you a whole bunch of different things. I'm going to talk about the Bezier tool later, but here is a mesh. So let's say I wanted to put in a sphere or what have you. There you go. And it appeared right in the center where I put my 3D cursor. If I would want to duplicate this guy and put it somewhere else on my screen, I can just go Shift and D, and that's going to do a duplication, perfect duplication. There you can see it again. Another thing that's very important to remember is if you ever do add new objects, always do it in the object mode, because if you do it over in the edit mode, objects that you are adding to your scene are going to be joined together. And I'm going to talk about how to disjoin objects here in a moment, but just wanted to talk about that. We're also going to be able to view our objects in numerous different ways. Come down here, you're going to see that we have solid mode is what we're using currently. You're also going to have wireframe, which is going to be very common, and rendered and all these other different things. So I might as well talk about the shortcuts for switching between those. If you want to switch between wireframe and solid, remember this is solid shading. Going to press on Z, and there you go. Now you're in wireframe. You're also going to be able to go Shift and Z, and it's going to show you a rendered mode. And you can come in here and go and change to different types of rendering modes. And the cycles render is a little bit harder to pull off, but whatever. You can go Shift Z and switch back to your regular solid mode. Once again, Z, wireframe. Like I said, don't worry about trying to memorize all these. Just playing around and practicing and using the cheat sheet I have in the description is going to help you a ton. Another thing that you have here on your screen is what is called the outliner window. And you can see all the different objects that we have here. And it's going to allow you to cycle down into all of the different things that appear on with your object. So this is your cube in general. And then you're going to have the materials and textures associated with it. Like I said, we'll get more into that later. Just wanted to point out that this exists, and all of these different objects on your screen are going to appear up there in the outliner window. Didn't talk about how you delete things. Let's say you would really decide you don't like this sphere, you want to delete it, just press X. This guy's going to pop up, click on delete, and there it goes away. You're also going to be able to define, let's say I want to select this guy right here, and I'm going to come down here and just click on this guy right there to just do a regular selection, or let's go and do that selection right there. That's the translate selection, or the moves selection, what I switched to. Let's say you would want to scale this guy. Let's double it in size. There's shortcuts you could use. So I want to do a scale, so I'm going to say S, and I'm going to go +2, and there you go. It automatically doubled in size. And like I said previously, with G+, you're going to be able to move it a certain number of units. You're also going to be able to, if you want to set this, just press with the left mouse button, everything goes back. And if you would like to rotate it, let's say 20 degrees, it's selected. You're going to press R plus 20 degrees. See, tons of little neat things you can do with this. Another thing that's kind of useful is we're going to be able to hide selected objects. Let's say we want to work with one object and the other stuff's in the way. So let's go and I'm going to hold down. Let's go and hold down the middle area. Let's say I want to work with a sphere and I don't want to rotate this for some reason. I don't know, I'm just making something up. And I want to hide the cube and not show it on the screen. I can just select it and press H. And then likewise, if I want to bring back all of my hidden objects, I can just go Alt H. And there it is back again. You're going to be able to come up here. This guy right here is your light, and you're going to be able to right click on your light and move it around wherever you would want. I'm going to talk more about lights in later tutorials. You're also going to have different types of shading. So I'm going to hold down my middle mouse key once again. And let's say I want to look at different types of shading. I'll just select this sphere right here, and I can come over here and select smooth or flat. And let's see what smooth looks like, and flat is what we have been using. You're going to be able to group objects together. What I'm going to do is do a B and a box selection. I'm going to select both my cube and my sphere. I'm then going to come over here to this object right here. This is going to allow me to group objects. Select that. Then there's layers and all kinds of other things. And if I want to create a new group, I'm going to press on the plus key, and I can go and give this a name. Let's just call it group 1. That's perfectly fine. And print enter, and there you go. Now you got yourself a group. I'm also going to be able to come in here and go, let's say Shift A, and create another guy. Let's say we want a cylinder for some reason, and I want to add this to our current group. I can just come over here, click on add to group, and select group 1, and now they are all going to be added to the same group. Okay, so useful ways to organize different objects. Press A again to deselect. I'm also going to be able to join multiple different objects. So let's say I want to select my cube. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to select the cylinder also. Let's say I want to join them so that they basically act like one thing. I just go Control and J, and there you go. Now they will act as one object. When one's selected, the other one will be selected. Now I'm going to be able to separate those in different ways. Actually, let's do something even neater. I'm going to select all of these different objects. So I'm going to get the cylinder and all this stuff. Press X to delete it all. Yep, X. There we go. Delete. They're all gone. I'm going to create something that looks a little bit more permanent. So I'm going to go Shift and A, and I'm going to create a cube. There's my cube right there. I'm going to move it down here into position. And then I'm going to go and create Shift A, and I'm going to get myself a sphere. Grab it, and I'm going to stick it inside of my cube. And then I'm going to do a join, and then I'm going to show you how to go and unjoin them. I'm going to grab it on the X plane right here with my left mouse button, and you can see I'm actually forcing it inside of the cube. And now what I'm going to do is go box and Control J to join them. So Control J, there they are. Now when one's selected, they are both selected. Now if I want to deselect them, I can go Tab. Now I'm over inside of edit mode. They're both still selected. And I'm going to be able to call for them to be separated by pressing on P, and you're going to see a whole bunch of different options here. Loose parts is going to allow me to drag out the sphere from inside of the cube. Material is going to separate based off of different colors, and selection is going to separate based off of what I have selected. So I'm going to say loose parts because I know the sphere is going to be different from the cube. So I went and got rid of them right like that. Now I can switch back into object mode and come in here and grab the sphere and pull it right out. Let's go and stick it right back in there again. Well, whatever. Let's just go switch back to edit mode. I can go edit, and I can go box, and once again with the left mouse button, go and select some of these different pieces. Go P once again, and this time I'm going to go selection, and then jump back over into object mode with tab, and now I'm going to be able to grab this and pull the top off of my sphere. So kind of neat stuff. You can see it still maintains the 3D look, but I just yanked that off the top there. So if you want to do some brain surgery, there's one way to do that. Now let's come in here and let's do a little bit more with edit mode. So I'm going to go B, and I'm just going to select some of this stuff, and I'm going to go X and delete. All of it's gone. Let's go and create a new object. I'm going to go Shift and Mesh, and I'm just going to pick on Cube. Hold down the middle mouse button, move the cube around here. And like I said before, this is your vertice, the point. This is the edge. The face is surrounded by 4 edges or multiple edges. You're also going to be able to define how you are going to select these different things. I'm going to go into edit mode by pressing on the tab button. Down here, you're going to be able to select based off of vertices. This is going to be selection based off of an edge, and this is a face. And this guy right here, whenever it is selected, it is going to limit selection to what is visible. Whenever it's unselected, it's going to basically select through. And you're going to see that here in a second. So I have this selected currently, and I'm going to come down here and select this. If you can see the back edges and vertices and faces, that means you can select them. I'm going to go A to unselect them, go into B, come in here, and you can see now that I'm able to select all of those vertices, and that's actually selecting a face. And if we go like this, you're going to see that. See, it selected the face. And why did it select the face? I'll tell you why. Because I have select face down here. This is vertices, and once again, we can zoom out. And if I want to select vertices, I just select that. And then with the right mouse button, I can come in and select all the different vertices, move them around, do whatever I want with them. Here, if I want to select edges, I select the edge down at the bottom with my right mouse button. I can come in here and select those. I can hold down the shift key, of course, and select multiple different vertices. And once again, I can come in and select the different faces if I'd like to do that as well. Now, the box select is kind of cool, but you're also going to be able to do other different selection options. One of them is this circle select. You get to that with the C key. And if I want to come in here and select this, I just go and press C, and then I can go and select multiple different parts. Let's go and actually just select what is visible. I'm going to get out of the circle selection tool with the escape key, jump back in here. Now I'm just selecting what's visible, circle, and there you can see I can do that and select the faces, for example, right like that, and then escape out. All right, and deselect with A once again. Another thing you're going to be able to do is draw vertices and create faces and shapes and so forth and so on. This is normally done in the front orthographic position, and how we're going to get to that is we're going to go 5 and 1, and you can see up here it says front orthographic, right like that. And if I want to draw a vertice, once again, we have to be in edit mode for this. I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to just come in here and click with the left mouse button, and oops, it's actually connected to that. I need to deselect that. And you can do undo just like anything else. I'm going to go A and deselect all. All right, so now I'm going to go control, and I'm going to click on vertices and create whatever vertices that I'd like to do, and then close them off. And then I can go and select the entire object and go F, and there it is, a filled face. All right, so another way to draw basically 2D vector graphic art that of course we can turn into 3D vector graphic art. And now I want to talk about our tool panel that we have over here. Talk about extrude and inset faces and make edge faces, subdivide, loop cut offsets, slide edge, duplicate we already covered, and then spin to finish off the entire tutorial. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go X and vertices, and that's going to delete that guy. Now let's say that I would want to come in here. I'm going to hold down the middle mouse button, get this guy right here, hold down the shift key and drag this over here so I can look at this cube a little bit different. Let's say I want to come in here and grab these vertices. I'm going to do it with a box, and you can see those right there. And let's say I wanted to extrude out another panel from that 2D panel from it. I could do that with extrude. So I can just go Alt E, or I can click on extrude over there. Here I'm just going to go Alt and E, and edges only or vertices only. I'm going to do edges only, and you can see I'm going to be able to basically create an additional panel right like that. So if you wanted to have this look like a lid on a box or something like that, well, there you go. Okay, so there that is, and of course you can then move these extruded edges around. And I'm going to show you a more advanced extrude example here later on in the tutorial. And you're also going to be able to use extrude individual to come in here and extrude vertices, edges, faces, and so forth. I'm going to show you how subdivide works. Let's go and let's delete that altogether. So I'm going to go X and vertices, and that's gone. So let's come in and let's select this guy. So I'm going to right click on him. Actually, I'm going to do a box select. Okay, so I got my whole entire cube selected. Now subdivide, what that's going to do is break it into additional cubes. So subdivide, see, more cubes, and there's more cubes. All right, so kind of neat stuff. And you can see all the different cubes there on your screen. Now, I'm going to hold down the middle mouse button with shift and move this guy around because I want to show you how Inset Faces works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select a whole bunch of different faces. I'm going to come down here, select face, I go right, hold down the shift key, select a whole bunch of these. You can do really neat stuff here. So select all these different parts, and I'm clicking on the right mouse button if you can't see. Now what I'm going to be able to do is come in here and inset those faces, or basically move this cube that I selected inwards and have it still be tied in with the rest of the cube that is part of it. So really cool stuff. So I'm going to go subdivide, and there it is. And now I'm going to be able to come in here and move everything around. So I can go and select it and move it in here on the X plane, or I'm going to be able to move it on the Y plane or on the Z plane. So as you can see, you can do all kinds of really neat little selections with that guy. So pretty cool stuff. And if you would like to move around, not on those specific planes, you can hold the control key down. You can press I once again, and then hold down your control key, and that would allow you to break it down even further and do even cooler stuff. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. And I'm pressing the left mouse button to deselect that. Now I'm going to do undo to walk myself back out of this to the part before I subdivided this whole entire cube. Okay, there we go. A to deselect it. Now let's say I would want to make a face inside here. Previously I went and created 3 vertices. Let's say that I would want to go and make a face that goes from here to here. I can wait. Once again, I have the vertice selection tool down here selected, and I can go right click and shift and right click and then shift and right click and then press F, and it's going to create a new face. Or I could have came over here and clicked on make edge face, but I just pressed on F to do that. And that's another way to make a face. I'm also going to be able to use Subdivide. So let's come in here and let's go and select an edge. Right click on that, and Subdivide is going to break it in half. As you're going to see right here, press A, and there's going to be a vertice right there inside of there. And if I click on the vertice tool, see, there it is right there. And I showed you Subdivide before, forgot about that. Another thing that's neat is you're going to be able to use loop, cut, and slide. This guy over here, loop, cut, and slide. And the shortcut is Control R on that. I'm usually going to use that. Let's say that I would want to put a bar or an edge that goes the whole way around this. I can do that. I'm first off going to select a vertice. So let's go and create this guy right here. And then going to go Control R. And that's going to create this, basically these edges you have right here. And I'm going to click with the left mouse button to set. And then I can move up and down inside of there. And then whenever I find a position where I want it to go, I press that button and it is set. And if I go and round about this, you're going to see that the edge went the whole way around. That face messed the other thing up. But either way, you can see that that's a way that we can go in there and create edges that go the whole way around your three-dimensional object. So that's kind of cool. And likewise, let's say we want to come in here and grab this edge that we have right here. We're going to be able to go Control-Shift-R, Control, Shift, and R, and that's going to create a draggable edge that we're going to be able to put here on our screen as well. And there we go. Click on the left button whenever we want to stop that, and A to deselect. And the last thing I want to do is I want to cover both spin as well as the Bezier tool, and also how to use images to be able to create shapes. So I'm going to jump back over into object mode by clicking on tab, and I am going to just delete this altogether. So I'm going to go X and delete, and that's gone. Now what I want to do, if I want to draw a shape using a reference photo, I'm going to use a glass. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into front ortho. So I'm going to go 1, and I'm in front ortho right there. If I want to bring in some artwork, I'm going to come over here to background images, open that up, click on add image, and then open. I'm going to find the image I want to use. You can use PNGs or JPEGs, whatever. Just double click on it, and you're going to see it appears right there. I am going to hold down my shift key and my middle mouse button and bring that in there. I'm going to hold down control and the middle mouse button to zoom out. And let's move it up a little bit, and shift and move it up a little bit. Now that I have my glass inside of here, I am going to go and use a Bezier tool to draw the outline of it and then spin it around and create the glass. So I am in object mode currently, and I'm going to go Shift and A. And what I want is a curve and a Bezier curve to be that's what I'm looking for. And now what I want to do is it's like a flat line. So to be able to see it, I'm going to go R and X plus 90. And that's going to make it appear as a curve on the screen that I can actually see and move around. And I'm going to press the left mouse button to sort of lock it. And now I'm going to go over into edit mode by clicking on tab. And you're going to see here the lines are going to show you what direction the curve is going to go in. I'm going to grab the very end of it here and drag it up here. I'm going to do this really quickly. I'm going to go left to set it, right to grab it, left to set it. All right, so let's just come down inside of here and set it. And then I'm going to use the right mouse button to go in and grab the handles to create the actual curve. And if I want to go and add another curve to this, I'm going to select the very last dot inside of the curve and go E to extend and drag this down here. So let's say I want it to be like right around here. Left to set it once again. Grab the handle with the right mouse button and approximate where I want that to be. Left to set it. Come back up here. Drag it back into position. Approximating everything here. I'm trying to do it a little bit quicker. And if you don't like those arrows, you can come over here to where it says normals. Check that. Now they're gone. And you come in and do another one. So E, and let's go and create another curve. Let's say like right like that. And grab this guy right here and that looks about good. And then grab this last curve here and extend it, and let's bring it down to right about there, the bottom of the glass, and let's go and drag it into place. Set with the left mouse button, grab with the right, set with the left, and there we go. All right, so there we go is an outline of the outer edge of our glass. All right, and that looks pretty good. Let's set it here with the handle, drag that inside of there. All right, so pretty good. Okay, so there's our glass, or an approximation of our glass. Now what I want to do is I want to select everything inside of here. So I'm going to go A to select everything. I'm going to go into object mode now. So tab once again. What I want to do is turn the curve into a mesh. So I have everything selected, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to press Alt and C, and that's going to convert to, you can see here, mesh from curve. It's a curve, now it's a mesh, and that's in object mode. Now I'm going to go back into edit mode with tab, select everything. Then I'm going to go E for extrude, and I'm going to create an extrusion. So it's going to become a three-dimensional shape. Okay, so there that is. I'm just going to move it in a little bit, left to set it. Then I want to do a select all. Make sure I have everything selected. Now I'm going to switch back into the top view. So I'm going to press 7 to do that. Now I want to make sure that I have everything so that it will spin around a center point that makes sense. So I'm going to come down here where it says mesh. Click on mesh, snap, and cursor to center. Click on that. Once again, everything is selected. And I'm going to come down here to where it says spin. Click on spin. And whenever I do that, you're going to see that it went and created it. You're also going to see down here that says 360-degree angle. And step is going to define how rough it is. So if I increase the steps, it's going to become less rough and more round. I'm then going to be able to come in here and with the middle mouse button, go and drag it. And there you go. Now it's a glass. Another thing you want to do is let's select A to select all. And you want to get rid of any doubles or overlays that you might have. So with everything selected, you're going to go W, and then come down here where it says remove doubles and click on that. And you can see it removed 98 vertices. So there are a whole bunch of different ways that we can go and do all kinds of really cool things in Blender. I think I taught enough that you'll be able to go in there and pretty comfortably be able to mess around and create objects on your own. And of course, this tutorial is going to continue into multiple different parts until I've covered pretty much everything you guys want to see. So like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.